It is a black screen. I thought it was a black screen. What's going on with my video capture? There we go. Oh my goodness. Devil, you better stop messing with me. You better stop messing with me, devil, because every time you do something, I just persist, baby. I just persist and push on through. And of course, people watching have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's always some technical difficulty stuff going on. And it's not me. It's not me. For people who say, "Did you check this? Did you check that? Did you make sure?" Yeah, I did. And just weird stuff is happening. Weird stuff is happening. It's almost as if somebody did not want me to read the Bible, but you know what? It's a Bible reading party. So it's going to happen. It's gonna happen. Good morning, good morning, good morning. The time is now 7:17 a.m. It is that is Central Standard Time. That's Texas time, y'all. It is June 17th, 2020. Burp, pardon me. I tried to drink as much coffee as I could before I came on so I wouldn't have the burpees. It is week 25, all the way live. Week 25, all the way live of reading the Bible. Yes, reading the Bible every day, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, wherever I got to read it, I'm going to be reading it. So, devil, you better stop messing with me. I'm telling you guys, if you guys would just spend a week with me, at least in the mornings, you'd see, oh, wow, that is weird that that happened. Oh, wow, that is weird that that happened. Weird, but it's okay. So yes, my name is Kenya. If you don't know me, for all my people watching me here on Facebook, for anybody discovering me newly on YouTube, my name is Kenya. This is my channel, Boulevard 40, which is currently being broadcast live through Facebook because I got banned. I got banned from reading the Bible on my live stream. That's all I was doing. But until I can get back there, which will be, I think they say it's a 90-day penalty for whatever I supposedly did. It's a 90-day penalty. And so until September 7th, I will be live streaming here, Facebook, from my personal page. But the re-uploads, the replays and the uploads will be available at Boulevard 40, which is my YouTube channel. So you can always go there and find out what I've been reading up to this point. But yes, this is my Bible. This is my New Believer's Bible. It's a pretty cool Bible, if I do say so myself. And it is First Steps. Where is it at? First Steps for New Christians. It is the New Living Translation. So if you've never read the Bible before, if you're out of, maybe haven't read it in a while, maybe the standard King James Bible is a little bit overwhelming for you, I highly recommend this. But you can read along if you choose to. If you want to read along with me, you can read any Bible and we're going to get the same message. Mine is just worded a little bit differently. It's got more of like a modern sound to it. And so yeah, this is my Bible. This is my Bible dictionary that I use from time to time. Some people have a concordance that they would use. This is a concordance is a little deeper, but this is my Bible dictionary. It breaks down some of the names, how to pronounce the names, some of the locations that's going on, and it gives you just a wee bit of history, like, okay, this is what was going on in this area. And what I really like about this is it puts things into perspective. Instead of just reading the Bible, and if you don't have a biblical history, like if you didn't go to seminary school, or if you're not a theologist, you may not be aware of some of the stuff that's going on here. Like, well, why did they do that? And that seems strange, plucking people's eyes out, and you can't, plant this particular thing over here. You can't wear this item, or women with their hair covered up. It's all culture. It's all cultural and historical. And it's really helpful to have just a little bit of something extra on the side so you can put things into context. Who was in charge? What was the government like, and what was different people's positions in life, and what was going on. So that's why I like to bring out my handy dandy Bible dictionary from time to time, because it helps to understand really who the people are, where they came from, what family line came from, what was going on in their family, maybe possibly why God chose them, what their purpose was, and how their actions affected other people. It's really, really cool. Good combo. But if you have your own dictionary, your own concordance, let me know in the chat or let me know in the comment section after the fact. You can comment here at Facebook or you can comment over at YouTube. Either way, let me know, have you ever used the Bible dictionary? And if so, what was the title of it? And did it help you out? And yeah, what would you suggest? That's what's going on there. Good morning, Laverne Dorsey, who is at Facebook in the live chat. Good morning, good morning. Give me 1 second. I'm going to give my share my screen with you guys so you can see the third resource that I use, which is my Kindle download. It's a Bible study guide. It says it's for women, but even if you're a man, you could probably Google Bible study something for men. Oh wow, looks like I'm buffering pretty bad. I'm watching myself on my phone. Oh, I got Brother Nike in here too. See, I gotta check this out. Brother Nike, hello, hello. Okay, oh, you're on the watch party. I started a watch party, you're on the watch party. And then I've got my regular one over here. So hello, hello to Brother Nike. Awesome. I don't know if he's still in the room, but shout out to him. And shout out to Lauren Dorsey, I see you on my regular comment side. So to anybody coming in, welcome, welcome, bring a friend. Welcome and bring a friend. This is the Bible reading party. We're about to get it started. Are you guys seeing that? You're not seeing that because I didn't share it yet. Here we go. Bam, baby. Bam. So this is A Woman's Guide to Reading the Bible in a Year. The author's name is Diane Stortz. This is the last page that I left off at. It is every week that I read the Bible, that particular set of passages has an overall theme. The theme for this week is disobedience, decline, and disaster. And if you were here yesterday, you know it was a lot of just awful stuff going on. Awful stuff going on. I mean, oh my goodness. Yeah, some really awful stuff going on. And a lot of this has to do with Israel's disobedience. They know how to worship, they know who to worship, they know why they're worshiping, and they have a long history of blessings that that have brought them out of bondage and helped them in different ways and different miracles. So they definitely have multiple reasons to know who God is and to worship him, but yet and still they keep falling off, backsliding, and pretty much just worshiping all these random gods that are around these other surrounding countries. And so that's where this decline comes from and these various disasters. If you look in the gold box, see if I can get that a little bit bigger for you. But if you look into this gold box, on one side of the gold box, it will say read. On the other side of the gold box, it will say checkpoints. Where it says read, that is my guide to what I'm reading every day. So somewhere between 2 and 3 chapters I will be reading. Let's see. Oh, I made it so big now. I gotta go to the next page. Here we go. So it's here we go. In the gold box, it says read, and that is how I'm pacing myself. So each one of these lines represents a day of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so Monday I read 2 Kings 1 through 3. Tuesday I read 2 Kings 4 through 7. Excuse me, today is Wednesday, if I didn't mention it already. Today is Wednesday, and I will be reading 2 Kings. Drink a little more coffee. Today is Wednesday, and I will be reading 2 Kings, chapters 8 through 10. That Irish cream coffee creamer is the bomb diggity. Yum. I know the dairy is not good for me, but Lord help me. Little by little, I'm going to get to where I need to be. Okay, so in that gold box, it shows that that's where we're at today with the reading, 2 Kings 8 through 10. And on the right side of that box, it says checkpoint. Check it, checkpoint. Just get to the point when you check it, checkpoint. A chariot of fire, we already covered that. That is when the prophet Elijah got swooped up from heaven, swooped up by a chariot of fire. And Elisha was an eyewitness to that. Elisha was his assistant, his, what do you call that? The person that you that you'd pass on your title to, or the person that you pass something on to. He basically inherited Elijah's position and his spirit, the spirit of prophecy. Then there was the 7 dips in the Jordan. And let's see, I'm trying to do all this from memory. 7 dips in the Jordan is the remedy, the prescription that was given to one of the commanders. I can't remember the name, begins with the letter N. And he came through because he had leprosy. He suffered from leprosy. He wanted to know, what can I do to get rid of this leprosy? And Elisha told him, go dip yourself, bathe yourself in the river Jordan 7 times. When you come out, you will be clean. Of course, this guy had a little bit of, he was indignant. He was actually pretty indignant. He said, man, you're not even going to come out the house and treat me and see what's going on? You're just going to tell me to take a bath? Well, finally, his soldiers, his surrounding soldiers, his subordinates said, "Sir, if he would have gave you something difficult to do, you wouldn't have had any trouble doing that. But he's telling you to do something very easy. Just go dip yourself in the Jordan 7 times. You'll be cured." So he did that, and of course, he was cured. Then there was an issue of a floating axe head. Elisha was invited by some of the other prophets to go build a new meeting place, because they said, "Hey man, we like hanging out at your Bible reading party at your place, but it's a little bit small. Let's go build a bigger place." They said, "Okay." They went down to the woods, chop, 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 and chopped down some trees. The axe head of somebody's axe flew off and went into the river, and of course it went kerplunk down to the bottom. And the guy was like, "Oh man, that wasn't even mine. I borrowed it." Elisha said, "No problem." He snapped off a twig or a piece of stick from one of these trees, threw it to where the guy said, the axe had fallen. And right where that stick fell in, the axe head floated up, just like the checkpoint said, and they were able to retrieve it. A feast for wild dogs, I think, is coming up today. And I believe it has something to do with Jezebel, Jezebel, Jezebel. So those are the checkpoints, and I pretty much did a recap all at once. What I normally like to do is a recap of whatever was read yesterday, just to kind of smooth it on into today, and that's what I'm gonna do right now. Right now, right now. How's the lighting, you guys? So I have a light in front of me. I'm not in my regular studio. I came out here to work since I'm writing my book, and I feel like I'm more productive here at this kitchen table. And so I've got a different source of light, but these lights are like blaring in my eyeballs. So I took some paper towel to mute it. Look at that. You probably can't tell the difference, right? But I put paper towel on it so my eyeballs won't be burning out of my skull. And it's a nice muted soft color. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I just thought I'd mention that. It is a soft glow. Yes, my eyeballs can stand it. So yes, yesterday was 2 Kings 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it was 4 chapters yesterday. Usually it's 3. This is what happened. In chapter 4, Elisha helps a poor widow. That was the story of the woman. Obviously, she's a widow. Her husband died at some point. She began to be overcome by debt. She had sons, and that's about it. She didn't have anything to sell. She didn't have anything to do to pay off these creditors. The creditors said, "We want your sons. We're going to take them into slavery so they can work off this debt." She asked for help from Elisha. Elisha helped her. Well, through God, was able to bless her olive oil container so that it will, even though there was just a little bit left, she took that container and she poured it into these empty containers, and just kept filling it up. And she was able to sell that valuable olive oil to get herself out of debt. Also in chapter 4, we had Elisha and the woman from Shunem. The woman from Shunem. So as Elisha's passing through these different towns, there is a particular place that he used to stop by. The woman eventually, well, I think she was married too. It wasn't just a regular woman. Yes. The woman said to her husband in chapter 4, verse 9, "I'm sure this man who stops in from time to time is a holy man of God. Let's build a small room for him on the roof and furnish it with a bed, a table, a chair, a lamp, and then he will have a place to stay." And so, they gave a little bit of southern hospitality. Actually, I don't know if they were in the South at all, but they gave some hospitality. They built a room onto their house so that as he's passing through these different areas, he'll have a permanent place to rest. The only thing this couple did not have was a child. Elisha prophesied that she would have a child by this time next year. She did. She was blessed with a child. The child at one point fell sick and died. Elisha was able to perform another miracle, bring that boy back to life. That's what was going on in chapter 4. In chapter 5, nope, we got a little bit more. We got one more miracle in chapter 4. It looks like this is verse 38. Miracles during a famine. And yes, the group of prophets sitting together. They made a stew. Somebody grabbed some plants from the wrong plant, and they were poisonous plants, not edible plants. People started to get sick. Elisha took some flour, threw it into the stew, and somehow miraculously made it into edible stew. And they were all good there. Chapter 5 was talking about the healing of Naaman. The healing of Naaman. And that was the commander that I was telling you guys about. Go dip yourself into the Jordan River. Okay, then what else happened in chapter 5? So Elisha had a servant, just like Elisha used to be a servant to Elijah before he got swooped up and taken into heaven. Elisha actually has a servant too. His name is Gehazi, and he's there to help him along. At one point, Naaman, the guy who has just been cleansed of this leprosy, he says, "Man, I got this, and this. Let me pay you for this." And Elisha says, "I don't need any of that. I don't need your silver. I don't need your clothing. I don't need the money. I don't need any of that stuff." Gehazi's thinking to himself, "Man, are you crazy?" So after the fact, after these people have left and gone out, Gehazi, the servant, sneaks out and says, yeah, Elisha, he just had some company stop by, and what he wants to do is, give a little bit of this money. So, that stuff that you were going to give us, just give it to me." And he took it upon himself, took it back to the house, hid it. Elisha, being the prophet that he is, he saw this. He saw it, and he confronted Gehazi and said, I was there, right? Even though I wasn't physically there, I was there in spirit. Like, for real, for real. I was there in spirit. I saw what you did. For your greed, the leprosy that I cured him of, you and your whole family will suffer from all the days of their life. So that was pretty messed up. In chapter 6, we talked about the floating axe head. Remember? Chop, chop, chop. Whoop. Oh, man, that wasn't even mine. Don't worry. Elisha performs this miracle, comes floating up. They're able to recover that axe. Elisha traps the Arameans. Now, this was pretty cool. So Elisha, being the prophet, he's able to see all these different moves that these people over here are doing. Every time they say, "Hey, we're going to go do a sneak attack over here," Elisha is able to see what's going on, and he is able to give it to his people so they can avoid being attacked. And at some point, the Arameans are like, "Man, do we have a mole? Do we have a snitch? Is there somebody in the midst of us who is telling our every move?" And somebody said, "No, there's this prophet. There's this man of God named Elisha. He's the one who's seeing everything we're doing." And that's when they decided, we got to go get this guy. We got to go get this guy. Ben-Hadad besieges Samaria. And I did read about Ben-Hadad yesterday in the dictionary. There's not only one, but not only two, but three Ben-Hadads who were in a position of power at some point. Oh, and Ben-Hadad besieges Samaria. That was the part where I was just like, that was so disgusting. That was the later part. Oh, no, it wasn't. We still got chapter 7. In chapter 6, the most disgusting thing that happened in chapter 6, the famine. Remember, there's still a famine going on. There's no food anywhere. There's no food. So these two women decide, hey, I got a son. You got a son. Let's eat our children. Okay, we'll start with yours. Okay. Yum, 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 yum. The next day. Okay, now let's eat your son. Oh, dear, I can't seem to find him anywhere. What? It was too much. So yeah. Chapter 7, lepers visit the enemy camp. And that was a situation where the Lord caused this army group to hear chariots approaching. And so they fled and left everything behind so that these lepers were able to finally eat, get something to drink, and get some riches. And then they went back and told everybody about it. Now we're in chapter 8. So that was all the recap. If you're just now coming in, don't worry, you didn't miss anything because that was all a recap. This is chapter 8. Let me go in to my comments. And thank you to the two people like it, or thank you to the two people watching. And thank you for the likes, for the folks who are in here. If you're in here, bring a friend. We're just getting started with reading the Bible. And yes, we're reading 2 Kings chapters 8 through 10. So that's 8, 9, and 10. Are you ready? I hope so. Okay, so I can see you guys over there. I'm going to leave the watch party comments up in case anybody comes up, and I'm going to read the regular comments up too. So let's see what other messiness is going on in 2 Kings chapter 8, because I mean, this really is, the theme is called disobedience. What is it called? The theme is called disobedience, disaster, and decline. And I mean that is definitely the right way to describe this whole book, because I mean, it's just going down, down, down. And the reason it's going down, down, down is because of that disobedience. You do wrong, it will come back to you. Here's chapter 8. The woman from Shunem returns home. Yes, the woman from Shunem. And if you guys remember, that's the woman I just talked about. She actually built a little add-on for Elisha. Her son died. Elisha brought him back to life. Let's see what's going on with this woman from Shunem. Elisha had told the woman whose son had been brought back to life, "Take your family and move to some other place, for the Lord has called for a famine on Israel that will last for 7 years." So the woman, oh, and here's another thing. I don't know if I read this on my own or if I picked this up by watching somebody else, but there is the number 7 that will be continually repeated. So a famine for 7 years. Remember when he brought that little boy back to life? He did the whole biblical CPR that Laverne Dorsey mentioned yesterday, the biblical CPR on him. And then he paced back and forth 7 times. For the leper, Naaman, he told him to dip himself in the river Jordan 7 times. And I'm pretty sure there's a couple more, but I read that somewhere. Because after I get done reading the Bible with you guys, there's some extra stuff that I check out. There's a couple YouTube channels. I mentioned it before. The Bible Project. Look that up on YouTube. The Bible Project is a very, very good channel. They've got cartoon, graphic, whatever you want to call it. I call it cartoons, but they're graphics, and they're usually 10 minutes or less, and it breaks down different Bible passages, or not Bible passages. It will break down different books of the Bible so much that a 5-year-old can understand it. And if not a 5-year-old, at least a 5th grader. So I'm pretty sure I got this from them. And there's another one, I think it's called The Chosen. Look that up on YouTube. The channel is called The Chosen, and it's basically a modern day, right now they're doing a series on it, a modern day display or reenactment of the life of Jesus and his apostles. And it really dives deep into these people and their personalities, different stuff they might have been going through, and they try to make it as historically and culturally accurate as possible. So it's not like you're just reading the Bible and he did this and she did that and they went there. It's actually looking into people's lives so you can really connect with them and see what it might have felt like to go through what they were going through. So anyways, my point is, I think that's where I got that from, 7. Not only do you need to keep your ears perked up for those different checkpoints, but listen for the number 7 that will be repeated. Dipping 7 times in the Jordan River. He paced back and forth before he brought that baby back to life. And here we go. He says, take your family and move, because the Lord has called for a famine on Israel that will last for 7 years. That's chapter 8, verse 1. So the woman did as the man of God instructed. She took her family and settled in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. After the famine ended, she returned from the land of the Philistines, and she went to see the king about getting back her house and land. Yeah, because her and her family, they just up and left. And you kind of wonder, like, oh, we're leaving behind everything. But this is what happened. As she came in, the king was talking with Gehazi. You guys remember Gehazi? Good old greedy Gehazi. As she came in, the king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God. That's still Elisha's assistant. The king had just said, "Tell me some stories about the great things Elisha has done." And Gehazi was telling the king about the time Elisha had brought a boy back to life. At that very moment, the mother of the boy walked in to make her appeal to the king about her house in the land. "Look, my lord the king," Gehazi exclaimed. "Here is the woman now, and this is her son, the very one Elisha brought back to life." "Is this true?" the king asked her, and she told him the story. So he directed one of his officials to see that everything she had lost was restored to her, including the value of any crops that had been harvested during her absence. In verse 7, Hazael murders Ben-Hadad. So much bloodshed, so much. And this is verse 7. Elisha went back to Damascus, the capital of Aram, where King Ben-Hadad lay sick. When someone told the king that the man of God had come, the king said to Hazael, "Take a gift to the man of God. Then tell him to ask the Lord, 'Will I recover from this illness?'" So Hazael loaded down 40 camels with the finest products of Damascus as a gift for Elisha. He went to him and said, "Your servant Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, has sent me to ask, 'Will I recover from this illness?'" And Elisha replied, "Go and tell him you will surely recover. But actually the Lord has shown me that he will surely die." Elisha stared at Hazael with a fixed gaze until Hazael became uneasy. Then the man of God started weeping. "What is the matter, my lord?" Hazael asked him. Elisha replied, "I know of the terrible things you will do to the people of Israel. You will burn their fortified cities, kill their young men with the sword, dash their little children to the ground, and rip open their pregnant women." Hazael responded, "How could a nobody like me ever accomplish such great things?" Elisha answered, "The Lord has shown me that you are going to be king of Aram." When Hazael left Elisha and went back, the king asked him, "What did Elisha tell you?" And Hazael replied, "He told me that you will surely recover." But the next day, Hazael took a blanket, soaked it in water, and held it over the king's face until he died. Then Hazael became the next king of Aram. Mm, 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 mm. So it was true. He would have been able to recover, but he died not because of the illness, but because of Hazael. Verse 16, Jehoram rules in Judah. Jehoram, son of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, began to rule over Judah in the 5th year of the reign of Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. But Jehoram followed the example of the kings of Israel and was as wicked as King Ahab, for he had married one of Ahab's daughters. So Jehoram did what was evil in the Lord's sight, but the Lord did not want to destroy Judah, for he had made a covenant with David and promised that his descendants would continue to rule, shining like a lamp forever. During Jehoram's reign, the Edomites revolted against Judah and crowned their king. So Jehoram went with all his chariots to attack the town of Zair. The Edomites surrounded him and his chariot commanders, but he went out at night and attacked them under the cover of darkness. But Jehoram's army deserted him and fled to their homes. So Edom has been independent from Judah to this day. The town of Libnah also revolted about that same time. The rest of the events in Jehoram's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. When Jehoram died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then his son Ahaziah became the next king. Ahaziah rules in Judah. This is verse 25. Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, began to rule over Judah in the 12th year of the reign of Jerome, son of Ahab, king of Israel. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king and reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother was Athaliah, a granddaughter of King Omri of Israel. Ahaziah followed the evil example of King Ahab's family. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as Ahab's family had done, for he was related by marriage to the family of Ahab. Verse 28, Ahaziah joined Joram son of Ahab, the king of Israel, in his war against King Hazael. This is the guy who just basically smothered Ben-Hadad and took over the kingdom. Ahaziah joined Joram, son of Ahab, the king of Israel, in his war against King Hazael of Aram at Ramoth Gilead. When the Arameans wounded King Joram in the battle, he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds he had received at Ramoth. Because Joram was wounded, King Ahaziah of Judah went to Jezreel to visit him. And that is chapter 8. Checking in. All right. I don't have any crickets here. I should look for some crickets. Crickets is my old crickets is my old thing that I started doing the last couple of weeks when everybody got too quiet in the room. I had to throw some crickets out. See if I can find some crickets. Because this is silent as crickets. It's so silent in here that crickets can be heard. So I'm going to throw some crickets out in the watch party. And I'm going to throw some crickets out here. Animals in nature. Yes, I'm going to look through animals in nature. And I know that people are doing different things as they're watching, but it still makes me feel good to revolt and rebel against the silence. So there's some crickets. It's so quiet in here, I can hear crickets. All right, going on to chapter 9, talking about Jehu. I don't know why, but that sounds like a rapper's name, doesn't it? In the last 10 years, was there not a rapper named Jehu? I have to look that up. But Jehu anointed the king of Israel in chapter 9. Meanwhile, Elisha the prophet had summoned a member of the group of prophets. Get ready to travel, he told them, and take this flask of olive oil with you. Go to Ramoth Gilead and find Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi. Call him into a private room away from his friends and pour the oil over his head. Say to him, this is what the Lord says, I anoint you to be the king over Israel. Then open the door and run for your life. So the young prophet did as he was told and went to Ramoth Gilead. When he arrived there, he found Jehu sitting around with the army officers. I have a message for you, Commander, he said. For which one of us? Jehu asked. For you, Commander, he replied. So Jehu left the others and went into the house. Then the young prophet poured the oil over Jehu's head and said, This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anoint you king over the Lord's people, Israel. You are to destroy the family of Ahab, your master. In this way I will avenge the murder of my prophets and all the Lord's servants who were killed by Jezebel. The entire family of Ahab must be wiped out. I will destroy every one of his male descendants, slave and free alike, anywhere in Israel. I will destroy the family of Ahab as I destroyed the family of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, of Baasha, son of Ahijah. Dogs will eat Ahab's wife Jezebel at the plot of land in Jezreel, and no one will bury her. Then the young prophet opened the door and ran. Jehu went back to his fellow officers, and one of them asked, What did that madman want? Is everything all right? You know how a man like that babbles on, Jehu replied. You're hiding something, they said. Tell us. So Jehu told them. He said to me, This is what the Lord says. I have anointed you to be king over Israel. Then they quickly spread out their cloaks on the bare steps and blew the ram's horn, shouting, Jehu is king! Verse 14, Jehu kills Joram and Ahaziah. So Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat, son of Nimshi, led a conspiracy against King Joram. Now Joram had been with the army at Ramoth Gilead, defending Israel against the forces of King Hazael of Aram. But King Joram was wounded in the fighting and returned to Jezreel to recover from his wounds. So Jehu told the men with him, If you want me to be king, don't let anyone leave town, and go to Jezreel to report what we have done. Oh, wow, you found some crickets. Yeah, I found some crickets. He was getting too quiet. So quiet I could hear a pin drop and hear crickets creaking. Then Jehu got into a chariot and rode to Jezreel to find King Joram, who was lying there wounded. King Ahaziah of Judah was there too, for he had gone to visit him. The watchman on the tower of Jezreel saw Jehu and his company approaching, so he shouted to Joram, "I see a company of troops coming." "Send out a rider to ask if they're coming in peace," King Joram ordered. So a horseman went out to meet Jehu and said, "The king wants to know if you're coming in peace." Jehu replied, "What do you know about peace? Fall in behind me." The watchman called out to the king, "The messenger has met them, but he's not returning." So the king sent out a second horseman. He rode up to them and said, "The king wants to know if you come in peace." Again, Jehu answered, "What do you know about peace? Fall in behind me." The watchman exclaimed, "The messenger has met them, but he isn't returning either. It must be Jehu, son of Nimshi, for he's driving like a madman." "Quick, get my chariot ready," King Joram commanded. Then King Joram of Israel and King Ahaziah of Judah rode out in their chariots to meet Jehu. They met him at the plot of land that had belonged to Naboth of Jezreel. And you guys remember who Naboth was, right? Naboth was the poor innocent bystander who had a nice little plot of land that King Ahab wanted. King Ahab said, "Hey, I like this land you got. Let me have it." And the guy said, "It's kind of a family inheritance. I don't want to sell it." And so Ahab went back, sad, all in a depressed mode, laid down in his bed, didn't want to eat, didn't want to drink. And Jezebel said, "What's going on with you? What's wrong?" "Well, I did want this plot of land over here, but Naboth said I couldn't have it." And Jezebel's like, "Aren't you the king? Why don't you just take it? You know what? Don't worry about it. I got this." And Jezebel set up Naboth. She set him up. It was a pure setup. She kind of made it seem like he was being celebrated. So they had this big, festival going on where he was the head of the table, somebody who's supposed to be honored. And then she spread these lies that Naboth not only cursed the name of God, but cursed the name of Ahab. Of course, the people weren't having this. And so he was killed. And once he was killed, his plot of land went to Ahab. That's the Naboth that we're talking about right here. That is the Naboth who's been set up and killed. So now that's where everybody's at right now. This is verse 21. Then King Joram of Israel and King Ahaziah of Judah rode out in their chariots to meet Jehu. They met him at the plot of land that belonged to Naboth of Jezreel. King Joram demanded, "Do you come in peace, Jehu?" Jehu replied, "How can there be peace as long as the idolatry and witchcraft of your mother Jezebel are all around us?" Then King Joram turned the horses around and fled, shouting to King Ahaziah, "Treason, Ahaziah!" But Jehu drew his bow and shot Joram between the shoulders. The arrow pierced his heart and he sank down dead in his chariot. Jehu said to Bidkar, his officer, "Throw him into the plot of land that belonged to Naboth of Jezreel. Do you remember when you and I were riding along behind his father Ahab? The Lord pronounced this message against him. 'I solemnly swear that I will repay him here on this plot of land,' says the Lord, 'for the murder of Naboth and his sons that I saw yesterday. So throw him out on Naboth's property, just as the Lord said.' When King Ahaziah of Judah saw what was happening, he fled along the road to Beth Hagan. Jehu rode after him, shouting, 'Shoot him too!' So they shot Ahaziah in his chariot at the ascent of Gur near Eblim. He was able to go on as far as Megiddo, but he died there. His servants took him by the chariot to Jerusalem, where they buried him with his ancestors in the city of David. Ahaziah had become king over Judah in the 11th year of the reign of Joram, son of Ahab. And now here we go, verse 30, the death of Jezebel. When Jezebel, the queen mother, heard that Jehu had come to Jezreel, she painted her eyelids and fixed her hair and sat at a window. When Jehu entered the gate of the palace, she shouted at him, "Have you come in peace, you murderer?" So she knows that her son was just killed. "You're just like Zimri, who murdered his master." Jehu looked up and saw her at the window and shouted, "Who is on my side?" and 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. Now, the eunuchs are the male caretakers, the males of the kingdom who have been, snipped and tucked. So they've never really developed fully as men, so they don't get those sexual urges, and they're able to be trusted around the women folks. That's who the eunuchs are. So Jehu looks up at Jezebel and calls out, "Who's on my side?" And these eunuchs, her attendants, peek out. 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. "Throw her down," Jehu yelled. So they threw her out the window, and her blood splattered against the wall and on the horses. And Jehu trampled her body under his horse's hooves. Then Jehu went into the palace and ate and drank. After he said, "Someone go and bury this cursed woman, for she is the daughter of a king." But when they went out to bury her, they found only her skull, her feet, and her hands. When they returned and told Jehu, he stated, "This fulfills the message from the Lord, which he spoke through his servant Elijah from Tishbe. At the plot of the land in Jezreel, dogs will eat Jezebel's body. Her remains will be scattered like dung on the plot of land in Jezreel, so that no one will be able to recognize her." And that is chapter 9 of 2 Kings. That is chapter 9. I think I did read about this. Other than reading this, I think this is one of the passages that I followed on that YouTube channel that I was telling you guys about. The YouTube channel is called The Bible Project. The Bible Project. If you go to their page or look at their icon, it's like it's either a blue book on a white background or it's a white book on a blue background, and it's a very simple icon, and it says The Bible Project. And I think that's where I got that from, and it was talking about when Jehu took over. He did have, he took her down. He made sure that she was killed, but he did want to acknowledge the fact that, okay, this is royalty, cursed royalty, but I at least want to acknowledge the fact that this is royalty. So he sent out the order to bury her, but of course at that point there was nothing left but her hands and her skull, and I think her feet. That's a lot. That's a lot. And now in chapter 10, let's see, am I doing chapter 10 today? Let me double check. Yes, chapter 10, 8, 9, and 10 today. I'm going to go on to chapter 10, and welcome to anybody who has come in at this point. And welcome and thank you to all who are watching this on the replay. Make sure you leave a comment in the comments after. Make sure that you leave me some feedback or comments or a question or any type of insight after the fact. You can pause the video at any time or ask a question or let me know something that you have read about this in the comments so that we can have a discussion about it. Chapter 10 talks about Jehu kills Ahab's family. Ahab had 70 sons living in the city of Samaria. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria, to the elders and officials of the city, and to the guardians of King Ahab's sons. He said, "The king's sons are with you, and you have at your disposal chariots, horses, a fortified city, and weapons. As soon as you receive this letter, select the best qualified of your master's sons to be your king, and prepare to fight for Ahab's dynasty." But they were paralyzed with fear and said, "We've seen that the 2 kings couldn't stand against this man. What can we do?" So the palace and city administrators, together with the elders and the guardians of the king's sons, sent this message to Jehu: "We are your servants and will do anything you tell us. We will not make anyone king. Do whatever you think is best." Jehu responded with a second letter: "If you're on my side and you're going to obey me, bring the heads of your master's sons to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow." Now the 70 sons of the king were being cared for by the leaders of Samaria, where they had been raised since childhood. When the letter arrived, the leaders killed all 70 of the king's sons. They placed their heads in baskets and presented them to Jehu at Jezreel. A messenger went to Jehu and said, "They have brought the heads of the king's sons." So Jehu ordered, "Pile them into 2 heaps at the entrance of the city gate and leave them there until morning." In the morning he went out and spoke to the crowd that had gathered around them. "You are not to blame," he told them. I am the one who conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? You can be sure that the message of the Lord that was spoken concerning Ahab's family will not fail. The Lord declared through his servant Elijah that this would happen. Then Jehu killed all who were left of Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel and all his important officials, his personal friends, and his priests. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. Then Jehu set out for Samaria. Along the way, while he was at Beth Eked of the shepherds, he met some relatives of King Ahaziah of Judah. Who are you? He asked them. And they replied, We are relatives of King Ahaziah. We're going to visit the sons of King Ahab and the sons of the queen mother. Take them alive, Jehu shouted to his men, and they captured all 42 of them and killed them at the well of Beth Eked. None of them escaped. When Jehu left there, he met Jehonadab, son of Rechab, who was coming to meet him. After they had greeted each other, Jehu said to him, Are you as loyal to me as I am to you? Yes, I am, Jehonadab replied. If you are, Jehu said, then give me your hand. So Jehonadab put out his hand, and Jehu helped him into the chariot. Then Jehu said, Now, come with me and see how devoted I am to the Lord. So Jehonadab rode along with him. When Jehu arrived in Samaria, he killed everyone who was left there from Ahab's family, just as the Lord had promised through Elijah. The Bible Project, we'll look that up. I have the new combined Bible dictionary and concordance book. You should check out some of the stuff that we talk about. It's quite interesting. You could like for example, today you could look up Jehu, which I'm pretty sure I got Jehu in here. You could look up Jehu, you could look up Ahab, you could look up Ahaziah, you could look up Jehonadab, this guy that he just helped up into the chariot. You can look up Jezebel. You can look up Jerome. Lots of J's, lots of J's. Okay, let's see. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm gonna look up Jehonadab and Jehu really quick to see if they're in here. This is a compact version, so not everything is found in here. But quite a bit is found in here. Like the Ben Hadad people, I was really surprised to see not one, not two, but 3 headings for them. 3 definitions or passages. Okay, so we do have Jehu. I found Jehu. I found Jehoshaphat. Jehoiada, which we read about him a couple days ago. I don't see Jehonadab. But yeah, I do see Jehoiada, Jehoshaphat, which means the Lord is judge. Jehu means the Lord is he. That's the 11th king of Israel that we're reading about right now. Jeroboam, which we just read about him, the first king of Israel, not of Judah, but of Israel, because the first king of Judah would have been Saul, and then the second one would have been David, and then the third one, what was David's son name? Was it Absalom? No, Absalom got killed. Jeroboam, Jerusalem. So yes, that's the one that I'm using. So you can look up any of those names. And I'm almost done with chapter 10. So let me boogie on through. Boogie on through. Because who doesn't boogie at a party, right? Jehu kills the priest of Baal. Baal. Yes. I looked that up 2 days ago. That is the correct pronunciation of it. Baal. You can pronounce it Baal, but from what I've seen in my Bible dictionary, this pagan god, the one that they're worshiping, because Baal itself is another word for God, but the way they're worshiping him, Baal is a different pagan god. So Jehu kills the priest of Baal. Then Jehu called a meeting of all the people of the city and said to them, Ahab's worship of Baal was nothing compared to the way I will worship him. Therefore summon all the prophets and worshippers of Baal, and call together all his priests. See to it that every one of them comes, for I am going to offer a great sacrifice to Baal. Anyone who fails to come will be put to death. But Jehu's cunning plan was to destroy all the worshippers of Baal. Then Jehu ordered, Prepare a solemn assembly to worship Baal. So they did. He sent messengers throughout all Israel, summoning those who worship Baal. They all came, not a single one remained behind, and they filled the temple of Baal from one end to the other. And Jehu instructed the keeper of the wardrobe, Be sure that every worshiper of Baal wears one of these robes. So robes were given to them. Then Jehu went into the temple of Baal with Jehonadab, son of Rechab. Jehu said to the worshippers of Baal, Make sure no one who worships the Lord is here, only those who worship Baal. So they were all inside the temple to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had stationed 80 of his men outside the building and warned them, If you let anyone escape, you will pay for it with your own life. As soon as Jehu had finished sacrificing the burnt offerings, he commanded his guards and officers, Go in and kill all of them. Don't let a single one escape. So they killed them all with their swords, and the guards and the officers dragged their bodies outside. Then Jehu's men went into the innermost fortress of the temple of Baal. They dragged out the sacred pillar used in worship of Baal and burned it. They smashed the sacred pillar and wrecked the temple of Baal, converting it into a public toilet as it remains to this day. In this way, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal worship from Israel. He did not, however, destroy the gold calves at Bethel and Dan, which is with which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to sin. Remember that? We learned about that last week. The two golden calves. He put one at the north and one at the south. Nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, You have done well in following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Therefore, your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the fourth generation. But Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. What? He went this far? Let me read that over again because he's been doing very well up until this point. I don't understand why he didn't go 100%. And if you understand why, or if you have some insight into this, make sure you let me know in the comments. This is chapter 10, verse 30. Nonetheless, matter of fact, let me go back 2 verses talking about destroying this at the temple. In this way, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal worship from Israel. He did not, however, destroy the gold calves. Okay, there we go. I knew I had to capture it somehow. He didn't destroy the gold calves at Bethel and Dan, with which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to sin. I don't know why, but that's where he made the mistake. Nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, You have done well in following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Therefore, your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the fourth generation. But Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit, which goes back to those golden calves. That's it, the golden calves. Verse 32, the death of Jehu. At about that time, the Lord began to cut down the size of Israel's territory. King Hazael conquered several sections of the country east of the Jordan River, including all of Gilead, Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh. He conquered the area from the town of Aroer by the Arnon Gorge to as far as north as Gilead and Bashan. The rest of the events in Jehu's reign, everything he did and all his achievements, are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. When Jehu died, he was buried in Samaria. Then his son Jehoahaz became the next king. In all, Jehu reigned over Israel from Samaria for 28 years. Jehoahaz. I wonder is there a way to pronounce that? Yes. Jehoahaz. Yeah, I said that right. Jehoahaz. The son and successor of Jehu, and the 12th king of Israel. His 17-year reign was a disaster for the nation of Israel, but not renouncing the idolatry by not renouncing the idolatry of the golden calves set up by Jeroboam the first at Dan and Bethel, Jehoahaz did evil in the sight of the Lord. Hazael of Syria and his son Ben-Hadad severely punished Israel during Jehoahaz his reign. This drove Jehoahaz to the Lord, who heard his prayer and granted temporary deliverance from Syria. Unfortunately, after the danger passed, Jehoahaz quickly abandoned his faith. After his death, Jehoahaz was succeeded by his son Joash. So let's go back and read about Jehu. Daddy Jehu, who did very well. I mean, he wiped out a lot of people. But when it came down to those golden calves, I think when people see gold, they get starstruck and it's like, oh, but the gold, think about all the value. Think about how many things I can buy with that. Oh, people get starstruck at that gold. And, oh, boy. Let's see. Jehu. Oh, I've been saying his name wrong. It's Jehu. Jehu. I do not know. Jehu. Show you guys the heading. I didn't know that's how you pronounce this. See that? Jehu. That is the proper pronunciation. Jehu. The 11th king of Israel. Jehu was anointed by Elisha the prophet as king. He later overthrew Joram, King Ahab's son and successor, and reigned for 28 years. His corrupt leadership weakened the nation. He is known for his violence against all members of the house of Ahab, as he established his rule throughout the nation. At Jehu's command, Jezebel, the notorious wife of Ahab, was thrown out of the window of the palace to her death, as prophesied by Elijah. Ahab's murder of Naboth and the subversion of the religion of Israel had brought terrible vengeance. But more blood was to be shed by Jehu. Jehu. Next to fill. Let's see. Ahab's murder of Naboth. That's the guy who had the garden, the field. Ahab's murder of Naboth and the subversion of the religion of Israel had brought terrible vengeance, but more blood was to be shed by Jehu. Next to feel the new king's wrath were the 70 sons of Ahab who lived in Samaria. Jehu ordered them killed by the elders of Samaria. Jehu's zeal extended even further, commanding the death of Ahab's advisors and close acquaintances. This excessive violence led the prophet Hosea to denounce Jehu's bloodthirstiness. Jehu continued his slaughter against the family of Ahaziah, king of Judah. Then he made an alliance with Jehonadab, the chief of the Rechabites, to destroy the followers of Baal. Jehu and Jehonadab plotted to conduct a massive assembly in honor of Baal. After assuring the Baal worshippers of their sincerity and gathering them into the temple of Baal, Jehu had them all killed. So complete was this destruction that Baalism was wiped out in Israel, and the temple of Baal was torn down and made into a garbage dump. Although Jehu proclaimed his zeal for the Lord, he failed to follow the Lord's will completely. He did not completely eliminate worship of the golden calves at Dan and Bethel, and his disobedience led to the conquest of the many parts of Israel by the Syrians. So, yes, that's what was going on today in chapters 8, 9, and 10 in the book of 2 Kings. And I thank you all for your participation. Shout out to Brother Nike, who was in the watch party. Shout out to Laverne Dorsey, who was on the, who just joined in from the regular live. Shout out to the crickets, who gave me a little bit of background noise while everybody else was quiet. Creak, 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 creak. Tomorrow we're going to pick this up 7 a.m. or 7-ish. 7-ish. I'm going to try again to get on live to my YouTube channel. For those of you who do not know what that channel name is, the channel name is Boulevard 40. Boulevard 40. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Very easy to remember. This is what it looks like. You can look me up on YouTube, and this is my channel name, Boulevard 40, or you can look me up hashtag BLVD40. That is where the re-uploads of the Bible reading will be. Since I cannot live stream, I've reached out to YouTube quite a few times. I have not received an answer why I've been banned from reading the Bible. But here we go. You can look it up and you can watch all of those uploads, replays. And if you guys get a chance, please go over there to Boulevard 40. The channel is on life support at this point because all my followers who used to watch me at 40 Entrepreneur Drive are no longer following me at Boulevard 40. And so, yes, the videos are there available. If you can get a chance to go by, leave a comment on one of the videos and watch as much of it as you can so that YouTube does know that it is a live, living, and viable channel. YouTube. That's what we're doing here. But in either case, I'm going to be here with you guys until I can reestablish that live connection for the Bible reading party. Good morning. What's going on? Are you just staring at me? It's hard to talk when somebody's staring at me off to the side. It's kind of awkward. That's my daughter. Say good morning. They all said good morning. They said, good morning, awkward daughter. They didn't say that. That's me saying that. All right. So wrap this up, everybody. Thank you very much. Don't forget to check me out tomorrow morning here. Unless I'm there, which I have a feeling I won't be, at the YouTube channel. And that will be 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, reading the Bible every day for your listening pleasure and for your listening pleasure and Bible study pleasure. Quick pray on the way on the going out on this beautiful Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for today. Despite all these technical difficulties that keep popping up left and right, I'm thankful that I was able to get online and fulfill my vow to read the Bible every day. To those who wish to listen to it. Thank you for my persistence. I'm glad that I am persistent, that I'm not giving up, that I'm not being frustrated, that I'm not being deterred. I'm thankful for my continued strength to be able to do what I do. I only pray that everyone who listens to the Bible reading, that they're encouraged and motivated to read the Bible on their own, in their own time, so they can come to their own understanding, build their own relationship, increase their own faith, and find their purpose through you, Lord. Amen. Yeah, that's how that goes. So for the two in the room, I thank you. We're wrapping it up, but you know what? You can go back and watch the replay here on Facebook or over here at YouTube. This is the YouTube channel that I've been banned from reading the Bible. Can you believe it? I've been banned from reading the Bible? Like what? Go to YouTube, type in this channel name or type in this hashtag. You will find you'll find that there. Seems like every time that other person comes in and I acknowledge them, they run away. Run away, Tubby, run away. I don't know what's going on with that. I know sometimes I pop in and out of live streams, especially if I'm trying to share it. The funny thing about Facebook is when you're in a live, you have to completely be there. Especially if you're on your phone, you can't like be on your phone in a live and then go to another application. It will take you out of that live stream. So that's one of the downfalls of YouTube. Excuse me, one of the downfalls of Facebook. You can't do other stuff. You have to 100% be in that live. You cannot do other stuff on your phone. If you're on a laptop, it's different. You can have the live going on one tab, and you can have something else going on another tab, so you can listen in while you're doing whatever you're doing. But that's that. So yeah, share me out. Come visit me at YouTube, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow me on social media. Now, let me know what you think about this next upcoming video.